Business Countrywide. Star Times Inside, entertainment inbuilt.
All righty, thank you for staying right there. You're still tuned into Rapid Dawn, and this is Martha. Yes, throughout the day, we have had very amazing segments from the start of the day, or the top of the hour of 7. We did give you some of the discoveries about the day, 20th of May, 20. No, not 2025 anyways. In history, we went back in history to let you know what happened today many years ago. Also, we did give you 5 detox drinks that you should include in your morning routine. And I hope that someone found that very helpful. Also, we did take you through the reviews on the newspaper to keep you updated on most of the recent happenings in our country and outside the shores of Nigeria. And at 9 o'clock, we are right here again for a very important and interesting segment. Right here in the studio, I've got with me the Managing Director of Dutum Company Limited. I have Mr. Temitope Ronsewe. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
All right.
To an extent.
Thank you so much for joining us here in the studio.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. How's your day been?
So far, so good.
Been quite of a hassle coming here, right?
Yes, it was.
All right. Good to have you seated here.
Thank you.
Anyways, we move into the business for today, and it's basically infrastructure, and we're looking at icons of identity. Now, Dutum Company Limited have over the years been charged with building up structures that tell stories, right?
That's
Landmarks that draw up an identity and draw up the world to us as a people. Now, let's just take a look at some of the projects they've done before we go into the conversation.
Our vision as a company is to bring out the hidden beauty of the African continent through the delivery of purpose-built infrastructure that enhances socioeconomic performance. And of course, a monument like this absolutely meets all the parameters. First of all, because as you can see, it is beautifying the landscape of Anambra State and of Nigeria and of Africa. But secondly, by reason of the tourism, it's going to also boost socioeconomic performance within the state. So this project absolutely fits in within our vision as an organization. Light of the Nation Tower here at the center of Oka, Anambra State, stands 40 meters tall. The project has taken about 6 months to be completed, and it has a globe with light at the top and a fountain around to beautify the city and bring about tourism and economic development.
All right, and that is the most recent project of Dutum Company Limited. And let's hear from the managing director. Tell us a bit about Dutum.
Thank you. Dutum is a 36-year-old construction company, and our vision is to beautify the African continent through delivery of purpose-built infrastructure that enhances socioeconomic indices.
Okay.
And this we've done for 36 years. One thing that caught our attention over the last 10 years when our vision was being recrafted was the fact that when you see cities like Seoul in South Korea, you see the difference between how the city looked 50 years ago and how it looks now.
Okay.
Is reminiscent of how Ajegunle looks. And when you see what happened, you see that majorly what changed was construction, infrastructure, and that is what beautified the city. And that is what is driving us, believing that part of the perceptions that we have about Africa and African cities is as a result of how it looks.
Okay.
So if we're able to transform how it looks, we're also going to be able to transform the perceptions about our cities.
And that's the mission you are on.
That is the mission
Absolutely.
we're on. Yes.
Right. So tell us about the Light of the Nation Tower. We did see that a bit in the video, and it's absolutely beautiful. Let's hear a bit about that.
So the Light of the Nation Tower is standing tall at the center of Oka in Anambra State. Oka is the capital of Anambra State. The project was a vision of the present governor, that's Professor Charles Soludo, the governor of Anambra State, who believes strongly in the ripple effect and the impact that monuments have on cities, on people, on the sense of pride and the sense of belonging. And so he conceptualized that to stand very close to the new government house, which was commissioned about 2 weeks ago by His Excellency the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in Oka in Anambra State about 2 weeks ago. And so he conceptualized this to stand very close to the new government house, which is going to signify a sense of pride, and he called it the iconic Light of the Nation Tower. So the tower stands 40 meters high. At the base of it is a water fountain that, you know, beautifies the city, and then it goes all the way to the top, forming a shape. At the top has a cross and then a globe at the top that lights up at night, and that is why he calls it the Light of the Nation Tower, which is just supposed to signify Anambra being the light of the nation, as it is being, you know, christened. So that is the vision, and we came on board, you know, through, you know, the concept design was already done, but we joined in making some improvements on that, and then eventually the actual construction, which took 6 months, which culminated in the commissioning that happened 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations on that project.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely beautiful one. Now let's tap a bit into your creative and strategic process. How does DOTM determine which elements of culture and community identity when conceptualizing landmark projects?
So generally, one thing that is essential to us in development of any projects that we do is the impact it will have on the society. So we're not just about structures. The structures must have impact on the community. So from academic or educational structures to structures that bring about health, hospitals, to structures like hotels, hospitality, and structures like the iconic tower, which is a monument. We're always very particular about the economic impact. We're particular about the social impact. We're particular about the community impact, the ability to bring communities together, the ability to represent a rallying point, the ability to provide a sense of identity and a sense of pride for those that stay in the community. So we're usually very particular about that when projects are being conceptualized, if we're part of that process. It's not all the time that we're part of that process, but sometimes we are, and we speak about what those impacts will have long after the structures are built. So we don't like just being referred to as a construction company. We're community builders, right? We build communities. We build bridges, both physically and, you know, beyond physically, that will be there long after we're gone. So if we put a bridge in a community, for example, that allows communities that normally would take 2 hours to get to each other, they are now within 10 minutes of each other. Those are things that long after we're gone, the impact is still there. We're building community. Those bridges those roads are able to connect farm to market, so farmers are able to make more money. So the economic impact of that, when we build structures for education, we build schools, we're thinking about the future generation, because when that school is built, it's going to be there for decades, for centuries, and they'll continue to educate the future. So that is the process behind a lot of what we do.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Anyways, it takes us to the next question. You have spoken about revealing the hidden beauty of Africa.
Yeah.
And we know that there are lots of places here in Nigeria that when they are being explored, not just Africa, let's start with Nigeria first.
Absolutely.
When they are being explored, we can have tourists coming to the country to visit and what have you. So how do you strike a balance between modern and architectural innovation, preserving our indigenous identity? Because you would know in some parts of the world, they will tell you, this particular roundabout has been here for donkey years. We don't want you to tamper with this our local architectural design. But something modern needs to be set up there, because if we must attract tourists, we must ensure that these buildings are something worth traveling over to come see.
So there has to be a balance, right? So you want to preserve the identity.
Yeah.
So in places around the world, they will say this building is protected. So there are certain things you cannot change. You must leave maybe the windows the way they are. You must leave the structure the way they are. It doesn't stop you from maybe, you know, painting or just adding some beauty to it.
Yeah.
So when we come to Nigeria, for example, we have a lot of landmarks all over the country. And what we need to do is, while preserving the landmarks, we must make it attractive, so we can build around it. So when you look at a place like, if you in Ekiti, Kogosi, warm water spring, where you have a connection, hot and cold water going side by side, that is a natural, you know, monument, right? And a lot has been built around that. You know, the resort is built around that. Then you can add a few things. You know, there's a Ijesha waterfall. The waterfall is there, it's beautiful. You see Olumo Rock in Abeokuta in Ogun State. There's the Nike Lake in Enugu. We have Yankari Games Reserve in Bauchi. We have them all over the country. We have it in Taraba. So what we all need to do is to, you know, pick that originality, but build attraction around it. And that is what people do all over the world. You ensure that you maintain the originality, and then you build around that things that complement and add value to what you have without replacing or, you know, tampering with the originality of that monument.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that one. Now let's move on to maintenance culture.
Right.
You would agree with me that is a problem in
It
this
is.
part of the world where we are, because it's not about setting up the structures. It's not about building all of these beautiful monuments. It's how they are managed eventually. Because we've seen structures being set up here in Nigeria. Let's even start with Abuja, the civil service office and all of those buildings there. The problem I see there many times is the maintenance culture. And you have mentioned that you're not just an architect. It's not all about setting up the structures. How do you intend to manage these infrastructures that you built?
So, you know, maintenance and management is a big issue. And we have to, you know, very well accept that it's something that as a people we need to do better at. So one of the things that we've tried to do in some of the projects that we've done is to build in a maintenance contract into the project. So, you know, there's the construction element, then we can sign a maintenance contract to maintain the structure. Now, however, it is also dependent on the client, because we cannot force ourselves to be asked to maintain, but we would always propose it to say, look, if this thing is going to last many years, it needs to be maintained.
Absolutely.
And for it to be maintained, somebody has to make it their duty. And believe it or not, maintenance costs money. So what we need to be preaching or propagating to our clients and government and other clients is that, look, after this structure is built, for it to have the lasting impact that we desire for it to have, then we need to be able to maintain it. So sometimes we propose those maintenance contracts. Sometimes they're accepted. More often than not, they're not. But we have a passion for projects that we do. So my team would find me driving past projects that we've done 5, 10 years just to check them out. you know. And when I do, even when we don't have a maintenance contract, most times I have a relationship with the clients that I'm like, look, I drove past so and so, I saw this, can you, you know,
Bring me
do
back
something,
in.
not bring me back in, can you do something about it, you know. And I have in the past, you know, interestingly, my team always wonders why I do it. When I look at it and I feel like it's not beyond what we can handle, I'll reach out to the client and say, look, I saw something, we'll just go ahead and do it
At
for
your
you.
cost?
At our cost,
Wow.
yes, you know, because I have, you know, like I said, it's beyond the structures, it's the impact it has on the society. And years after we've done it, I still have an attachment to that structure and that, you know, building. So I do things when it is within what we can handle. If it is not, we just tell the client, look at this thing, try and work on it, and I'll continue until when I see that they've done something about it.
That's
It
awesome.
works many times in private. It doesn't work so much with government because it's how bureaucratic government is, but we'll keep trying.
All right, it takes me to the next question, because policies are super important in ensuring the longevity of these structures and the policies and the framework. How do you intend to partner with the public-private sector in setting up these structures?
So policy is important, and like I said, because of the impact we believe this structure should have long after we're done, we want to build in maintenance contracts into our transactions, so which then proposes things like public-private partnerships where the government agencies are interested. So these are conversations that we've been having. Many of them are still at the very early stages. And but we believe that with forward-thinking government officials, they are beginning to listen, seeing that it's not just enough to put up the structure, you have to maintain it. So policy is being put in place. I know that, for example, for roads, in some ministries, both federal and some state governments, they now put in 10-year maintenance contracts. Some even try 20 years. You know, they're still at the early stages. Let's see how they are implemented, and then we'll know.
All right. Now let's talk about some of the biggest challenges you've had when you were executing the Light of the Nation Tower, and some of the lessons that you learned throughout that process.
So with every project, when you take on a project, you just know that you know, when it looks good on paper. Believe you me, the hardest part of most projects, in my opinion, is actually putting them up.
Absolutely.
Because when you get to the ground, you find things you didn't plan. You dig the ground, you find water you didn't know was there. You dig the ground, you find, you know, pipelines, you know, things that you didn't even know were there from inside the ground. And then as the structure starts to go up, you start encountering challenges from maybe some community, you know, agitations here and there, with people that don't understand what is being done. And this, you know, then informs part of the lesson learned, which is about community engagement before you start projects. No matter how, you know, how important you feel the project is, you must engage the community. Go around, make them understand, even if it was not within your scope, because you're the one that is going to be there. You engage the community, the community leaders, the traditional leaders, the youth leaders. Or this is what is being done, this is the reason for it, and you just carry them along. You involve them in the work. So local participation is so important in every project that we do. We always involve the local community. What can you guys do? What can we bring you in to do for work, to empower the young people? And so those are some of the challenges we faced. And then the actual technical bit of it. So by the time we got to the 40 meters mark, you know, it became harder and harder to walk at that height. Especially in Anambra. You know, it's not Lagos, it's not Abuja, so some of the equipment that were needed were not very close. So we went as far as Port Harcourt, as far as Warri, as far as Lagos to bring some things in to do the work. That's on the technical side. But and then there was eventually timelines.
Okay.
Like I said, you know, the project was delivered in 6 months, which was quite, you know, a feat. And then very close to the commissioning time, you know, a lot that needed to be done. So those are all the things we encountered.
Okay.
But, you know, thankfully we were able to overcome them, and it was done.
Thankfully.
Yes.
Now, let's creep a bit into your personal projects. What recent projects are you currently working on? And also, do you plan on replicating these Light of the Nation Tower in other parts of the world or other parts of Nigeria?
Okay, so I'll start with the first question, which is other things we're working on.
Okay.
So as a company, our work is diverse.
Okay.
We have a lot of building construction going on in Lagos, mostly residential and commercial buildings.
Okay.
So, you know, residential 10 stories, 15, 20, those kind of things that will beautify the skyline by the time they are done also.
Okay.
Then we have commercial buildings, offices, hospitals, factories, which are being built for, again, we're always thinking about the economic impact of what we do.
Yeah.
So when factories are built, you know, you're there for manufacturing, you know, it creates jobs, and then all the export capacity that it has and the foreign exchange earning capacity that the products that are being produced would have. Those are all projects going on. Then when you refer to more monuments like the iconic Light of the Nation Tower, you see, the thing about those type of projects is that it has to be conceptualized by the government most of the time.
Okay.
Yes, we can propose, like we're doing presently. Having done that, we're proposing more iconic monuments to both the government of Anambra State and other state governments to say, look, when you think about monuments all around the world, from the pyramids in Egypt to Burj Khalifa in Dubai to Eiffel Tower in France,
Yeah.
somebody sat down to conceptualize and said, look, this thing is going to drive tourism. So we are coming up with some of those things,
Absolutely.
and we intend to propose them to as many state governments and governors as who would see the impact that it will have, and then we sit down to conceptualize it, pick locations, discuss the economic impact, and then come up with some sort of partnership model to bring these projects to light. Yes, we're working on that actively.
All right. Hopefully you would see more of DUTM
Yes,
in the public space.
absolutely.
All right. Now let's move on to strategic direction.
Right.
How does DUTM envision its role in reshaping Nigeria and Africa's image globally over the next decade? I know you have said a bit of that, but let's have it more.
So like I said, our vision is about beautifying the African continent. It sounds very simple,
Okay.
but it's a lot deeper than that. When we look at Nigeria, like I said, I saw an image a few years ago of what Seoul, South Korea looked like around the water area. It literally was no better than the, you know, Ajegunles of this world and some of the ghettos we see. And someone with a vision looked at it and said, we can transform this space. And all they did was build, right? In simple terms.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that goes into that. There's
Absolutely.
the vision casting, there's the, you know, thinking about how you want the area to look. The same thing when you look at Dubai. You know, you see some of the old pictures, it was a desert. And then now, you know, is a place that we all want to
Structure.
visit. So part of what we are doing is to come up with proposals, vision, ideas, and go beyond that and, you know, do some rendering to say, look, this is how your city looks right now. This is how we believe it can look in 10 years, in 20 years.
Yeah.
And we come up with a roadmap that helps that state get from point A to point Z where we're going, and say, okay, step one is the master plan.
Okay.
When you look at a city like FCT, Abuja, it has a master plan and they're working towards that master plan. So to look at certain cities and say, let's come up with a master plan for you, it's going to take you 10 years, it's going to take you 20 years, it's going to take you 50 years, but we take it in bite sizes.
Okay.
We're having those kind of conversations presently. These things cost money. So it starts with having governors and government officials who are visionary, right? When you look at, for example, the iconic light of the nation, some people look at it and they say, what is the purpose of this? This is, we have bigger problems. But you have to be a person of vision to actually understand what the governor is trying to do with that. It might look as though it's ahead of its time, but in 10 years, 20 years, many people will begin to see the impact of what that vision today is going to have. So we are working on some of those. We have to start with the small wins, what they call low-hanging fruits. Work with governors who understand vision and can see into the future, because it takes a lot of foresight to do things like that. So we'll work with you, develop the master plan, and then we start working towards implementing it. All of that is things we're actively working on presently.
Okay, so are you leveraging new technologies, like in your structuring? So
a lot of what we're doing definitely leverages new technologies in the area of artificial intelligence, for example. Is able to project and say, okay, this city looks like this. With some artificial intelligence and some of prompts, we can say, okay, this is how we want it to look, and we present this to our partners and stakeholders and say, you know that your city can actually look like this. So we're doing a lot of that, and a lot of it and new technology we do in planning. Most of it is in planning. The execution, not so much yet, because construction is construction. You still must put brick and mortar together. But in planning, we have a lot of new technology going into that.
What about less developed regions of Nigeria? Do you have projects that would suit such an area?
So just like what I said, even some of the projects, what we did in Anambra, for example, in Oka, which is the capital, many people don't actually appreciate the impact of it. So in the less developed area, I think what most people are after are more direct infrastructure like roads, bridges, river crossings, connecting communities together, things that can immediately spur economic development in those areas, markets, hospitals. Those are things that are being done in those less developed areas at the moment. However, I also believe that monuments and tourism can bring about economic development.
Absolutely.
A few years ago, I visited a small town in Kenya. It's not anywhere close to, it's not in Nairobi, it's not anything. You get to Nairobi, you'll still fly a few hours away. It's by the coast. It's a small village almost, but now it's a town. And all that community has is tourism, right? Because they are by the beach side, they are by the water, and they are built around that. So we can, as a country, identify locations like that, not necessarily in our cities, but which are remote, and we connect the transport infrastructure that would allow people to travel internationally to come and see those places. These are things that we need to do as a country. It's a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Yes.
And you're doing really great, honestly.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us here. If you are just joining this conversation, we have been hanging out with the Managing Director of Dutum Company Limited, and he is Mr. Temitope Runshewe.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be closing out with the Light of the Nation Tower again. And after that, we'll be back to close out completely for the Rapid Dawn.
Our vision as a company is Our vision as a company is to bring out the hidden beauty of the African continent through the delivery of purpose-built infrastructure that enhances socioeconomic performance. And of course, a monument like this absolutely meets all the parameters. First of all, because as you can see, it is beautifying the landscape of Anambra State and of Nigeria and of Africa. But secondly, by reason of the tourism, it's going to also boost socioeconomic performance within the state. So this project absolutely fits in within our vision as an organization. Light of the Nation Tower here at the center of Awka, Anambra State, stands 40 meters tall. The project has taken about 6 months to be completed, and it has a globe with light at the top and a fountain around to beautify the city and bring about tourism and economic development.
All right, people, thank you so much for staying here. You've been up here with me since the hour 7, and this is 10 o'clock. In fact, we're heading to 10 o'clock, not yet 10, and we'll be out in a moment. And in case you missed it, we had 2 new discoveries for today and 2 new, they're all discoveries. So let's have 2 of them and then 2 of the new studies so that we can keep you updated on what had happened throughout the day. Now, new study says American researchers have developed a molecule that makes cancer cells kill themselves. So we just might be looking at the next possible solution to ending cancer. So if they kill themselves, then they obviously will not be living in your body or in the body of anybody. So this is a welcome development by American researchers. We'll see how that pans out in the next couple of days. Let's move on to number 2 new study. Now, this is one that I find really funny, especially when a country like Nigeria is trying all that they can to ensure that these mosquitoes have absolutely no place to live. Now, studies said genetically modified mosquitoes have been officially released in the US. Why this is, I do not know, but I'm just here to update you on the new study. Now, let's have 2 more interesting facts that you need to know before we close out. Now, this one says childhood dreams are shorter than adult dreams, and nearly 40% of them are nightmares, which may act as a coping mechanism. Obviously, it has to be shorter because these guys have literally nothing to do. They're being taken care of. So their dreams should be shorter. Now, on to the next. This one says it takes 21 days to stick or to get rid from a habit. So if you went 21 days without something, it means you can go your whole life without it. So if you're looking at forming healthier habits, give yourself a 21-day mark. After 21 days, if you find it difficult to stick to that habit, the scientists might be lying. But anyways, this is the much that we have for you today. Thank you again for being here. This is Martha Alu, and I'm signing out to be back tomorrow.
My name is Akio Sakido.
Hey guys, this is Anto Lecky.
My name is Leo Bliss.
My name is Akava. I go by the name Baba D.
And you're tuned into Rapid TV.
I love Rapid TV.
Shout out Rapid TV. Thank you, Rapid TV. Please keep watching
Rapid TV.
This is Rapid TV.
Rapid
TV.
Keep watching.
Keep it down.
Leave it like that.